May 20th, 2185. The Illuminate invasion, which started only a week prior as a surprise incursion from the real space wormhole standing in the remains of the Meridian system, has reached its final escalation and highest tier. 3 bastion systems on the inner segment of the Super Earth Federation, Widow's Harbor, Pylon 5, and New Haven, lie in ashen ruin. The Helldivers, Super Earth's most elite combat specialists and orbital drop troopers from the onset of the defense campaign, have understood and executed the assignment with zero flaw, and, having redeployed from all over the system, having defended, having fought, and having died, inflicting catastrophic casualty figures on the Illuminate Empire for every inch of ground, find themselves on one final jump to join SEAF garrisons established on planet for their final stand. Among them is the 317th Special Reconnaissance and Interdiction Division, steeled veterans and participants in the opening exchanges on Pylon 5, and now one of the last elements in withdrawal of the New Haven system aboard the SES battle carrier Wings of Redemption, en route to rendezvous with the 65th Devil Dogs Frontier Garrison, now stationed over Equality on Sea, one of the 7 vital hardpoints against the coming alien onslaught. All the pieces of logistics, subterfuge, and war left standing are now exposed plainly on the board. What only remains is to play out the inevitable conclusion of what no wartime analyst doubts will be the single most vital game in this chapter of the Second Galactic War. And in today's early hours, the skies above Earth come alight with the energy flares consistent with Illuminate warship atmospheric intrusion and the counter-deployment of hundreds of thousands of Hellpods. The Illuminate invasion has begun. Landfall is confirmed at multiple sites across Super Earth. Megacities are under siege. For the first time in more than a century, hostile forces have breached the sovereign homeworld and central seat of power of the Federation and wider human race. Descending from the sky from the tubes of Terran destroyers is death, armed with cutting-edge technology, powered by fathomless spite, and with a single, simple directive: kill all that come, and none will follow. So begins the battle for Earth.
That was the word, Captain. I got you thinking. They are not phone, they are stepping nails packing. So, be stepping, I come in flipping. I feel lucky, I'm not you. At the top, I do the thing. So, in the fucking this is cold. And hard to have it, so it's a brain, bitch. Where do I start? Start from the top, and the next to the bottom. Rock the bottom, baby, I swear I already got 'em.
In this, the documentation of the opening blow struck in the single most important battle yet in the war and perhaps in all of the history of man, we will attempt to examine and assess the conditions of the field of play, what terrain the bulk of Helldivers assembled in defense of the cradle of humanity can expect on planet side, as well as the force composition and projection offered by Super Earth in defense against this tyranny. In the initial stage of this planetary scale battle, Super Earth High Command has issued the major order to every man and woman at arms: repel invaders at all cost, exact democracy's vengeance, and if it bleeds blue, kill it. The wider operational goal is to terminate 2.5 billion hostile life forms, estimated to be the lion's share of the first wave of invaders making planetfall. But even before landfall can be made and shots fired, a number of conditions must be considered. Planetary geography, combat zone terrain, and various incidental conditions. Planet Earth is gracefully, even after centuries of industrialization and environmental alteration as a side effect of technological progression and the forwarding of quality of living for its billions of citizens, a relatively stable and uneventful planet. There are no atmospheric ion storms to interfere with surface-to-orbital comms for coordinating stratum drop. There are no earthquakes, fire tornadoes, and while some ecosystems are given to dust storms, high temperatures, and other various less extreme developments that may affect equipment performance, none exist within the theater of combat on Earth so far for a very specific reason. While Earth and the Origin system at large stands as a total home field advantage for Federation forces no matter where you are, and the fight for the planet could theoretically be anywhere between the wilderness of the super rainforests or the arid heat of the super pyramid condominium development site, the terms of the engagement is actually dictated entirely by the attackers, the Illuminate Empire. If the defenders are to play their part in terminating the life cycles of the aggressors, they must meet them on a field of battle of their choice across the planet. And predictably, Illuminate force concentration is based nearly in totality around the heaviest population centers that humanity has to offer, as seen in both previous installations of the series and throughout their involvement up to current date in the war. This occurs for want of more innocent and largely defenseless hosts for their mind virus weapon, which has been used to great effect up until now, and as a consequence, the 7 major population centers around the globe are the battlegrounds where the vast majority of fighting has taken place, and it falls to the Helldivers and now SEAF conventional infantry to defend the citizens, often caught in the open under the guns of alien flagships and super destroyer alike. The environment itself in all of these cities is very similar. Moderate and controlled temperature levels provide average performance for the heat sinks of energy weapons, and the most extreme weather condition is indeed some rain. The real complication, however, exists outside of generic planetary features and begins when considering the physical terrain of the localized battlefield itself. While every Helldiver who has seen combat versus Illuminate by now has fought on the streets of urban environments, there is no preparing for the vast cityscapes of towering concrete structures which are the megacities of Earth. Hundreds of stories high, interlaced with endless sightlines from alleyways, streets, and intersections, each battle zone is a veritable labyrinth, forcing defenders into confined, point-blank engagements with deep drainage pitfalls.
Never mind, I take it back. You cannot. You die if you fall in there. That's why those guns were down there.
Sheer walls and exploding fucking cars literally everywhere. While fortifications, fallback points, and civilian shelters have been established in the time bought by the weeks spent fighting abroad, the reality is there is no good way to erect fortifications from an enemy possessing a fleet of aircraft capable of advanced aerial maneuver and simultaneous ground insertion of everything from light infantry all the way up to heavy armor. Erect too many walls, and the only purpose they would serve is to hinder ground units' reaction capabilities to the enemy air corps, which can deploy virtually anywhere at their own leisure. Unlike previous population centers, these truly massive buildings serve to heavily impede air support's ability to navigate city terrain on both sides, with Eagle 1 often failing to deliver ordnance on target and interloper fighters passing over friendlies dozens of times looking for a clean line of approach to conduct a strafing run. Even more extreme, however, super destroyers in low orbit struggle to draw line of sight to areas targeted for bombardment with their heavy guns, and the new Illuminate Leviathan-class super heavy gunship, initially believed to be a massive threat to ground forces, able to gradually drift their way in between the superstructures and high-rises of the city, struggles to bring its full weapons complement to bear when impeded by so much mass. In most simplistic terms, forces on either side face an impossible task of coordinating air and orbital support, depriving everyone of substantial power when artillery can't land on target and big space whales keep crashing into fucking buildings instead of being the problem that they were designed to be. This often leaves conventional ground elements to fight on their own in the confines of the streets in intense, short-lived brawls over small encampments, side objectives, and most often absolutely nothing of strategic value. For this reason, the dynamic of what weapon systems and equipment implements are useful shifts only further towards point-blank effective CQC-focused gear. And finally, there are the various conditions and modifiers present which affect the progression of battle, be it large in logistical scale or rather controlled strategic scenarios. The opening phases of attack on the Origin system were, indeed, on another planet entirely, Mars, involving termination of the Helldivers' training and arming facilities based there. While Super Earth does not lack tact so much as to not have secondary and tertiary facilities available for diver recruitment, enlistment, training, and equipping for situations just like this, regardless, missions are seeing a reduction of available Helldivers on average in individual drop-ops for the duration of the battle so far. Additionally, with so many Illuminate vessels in orbit over Earth now, Eagle close air support craft are forced to dodge screening fire from the enemy fleet on the way down from orbit, causing an elevated delay in rearming this vital air support implement. Combined with the aforementioned structural obstacles which cause most ordnance drops to land afoul of target and often well above any effective range to inflict damage, on this planet and these battlegrounds, the existing conditions generate an environment where Eagle strike craft are in fact the least useful that they've ever been at any point in the war. For most Helldivers, this is already a massive factor in determining what stratagems to arm for a mission, but for the SES Wings of Redemption, a battle carrier lacking any orbital armaments short of the default Super Bushmaster 406mm cannon equipped to all ships out of dry dock, this results in the most critical strategic shift in fighting doctrine on the part of its complement of 317th SRI on board. Now more than ever, the battle for Earth is most often decided by the actions of men on the ground clearing streets and tight alleyways with small arms fire, grenades, and, if they are having a bad enough day, their service sidearm frequently and violently. Now we look at how units in the field are addressing these shortfalls and filling holes within the defense complex's force gravity. The SSG Breaker Assault Shotgun is effectively now the standard issue weapon of every diver deployed by the 317th, with its ability to rapidly dispense a staggering barrage of high-powered pellet load, cutting through unarmored voteless mobs like Butter and Overseer elite units like Butter that got left in the freezer and then you ran out of refrigerator butter, so now you have to try and cut the rock hard butter, and it's not hard enough that it's like hard, but it's doable. But for anything that's a more armored target than that, special weapons and whatever stratagems are still serviceable in this environment are key and changed largely depending on mission objective and what duration of time a unit could expect to spend in the area of operation. Unlike ordnance, guided drop pod systems could deploy assets such as resupply and automated defenses without getting stuck on top of a building somewhere, and were often pivotal towards the success of missions, often employing the Gatling sentry to clear vast number of adds and quickly eviscerating heavy flesh mobs, or else the auto rocket pod for damaging enemy armor and structures. Similarly, equipment drops were often the make or break to equip Helldivers for the numerous combat forms which the standard drop kit you can fit in a Hellpod will not tackle. To this end, Super Earth High Command has delved deep into the coffers of armament stockpiles and issued bonus stratagem availability, allowing each Helldiver on the ground of the initial invasion access to an M105 Stalwart squad automatic weapon, and I cannot stress enough how helpful your government-issued machine gun actually is in this fight. With endless hordes of voteless being a problem enough as is, Overseer concentration has skyrocketed in comparison to previous engagements, and with flesh mobs being an ever-present veritable roadblock to accomplishing any objective requiring the determination of nearby adversaries, the squad, MG, and general, and Stalwart especially has been more relevant than ever has been up until this point, which, given its heavy usage prior, is saying quite a bit actually. The jump infantry tactics common to the 317th and many Helldiver units on planet right now have proven tactically essential against Illuminate forces so far in the war. However, with the sheer scale of the buildings, they don't make a jump pack strong enough to get halfway up one of these structures, substantially lessening the benefits of utilizing one. As a result, there is no better reason to start exploring other backpack support stratagems, and the 65th Dogs in particular are adamantly and effectively making use of the newly issued portable Hellbomb units, which, with their staggering explosive yield, have reaped nothing short of devastating tolls on enemy forces, and believe me when I tell you, there are no sane Helldivers that use that thing.
I bet Coretta Kelly's a bad bitch. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen her, but I bet she's hot.
Like, every dude from the 65th I've dropped with has had some crazy call sign. Look at this patch. What do you think you'd call someone from the 65th? Because all I keep finding are motherfuckers named shit like Princess, Cupcake, and Tony. Like, who the fuck? Leave it to a Helldiver to see the most catastrophic force concentration and decide now is the time to run straight into the massive infantry with effectively like a nuke on their back and just throw that right at them like, damn. Alternative to backpack mounted assets, heavy weapon systems that come alongside a carrier pack for munitions are far more normalized than before. Namely, the GR8 recoilless rifle, now essential to many ground teams tasked with repelling mass landings, which the enemy has been found to be so proficient at conducting with their landing craft, countering their close air support alongside neutralizing harvester walkers rapidly with its powerful anti-armor warhead. Now more than ever, its unrivaled ability to dispatch of more hard targets than perhaps any other support weapon in the Helldiver arsenal is being utilized to maximum effect. When fire support falls short, when the expendable anti-tank ricochets off targets for no discernible reason, the recoilless rifle just gets it done. Moreover, while previously cast aside for situationally better implements beforehand, the multi-launch system 4X Commando anti-tank rocket launcher utilizes a laser-guided system which can remotely direct its 66mm rockets after launch, which, while neat, is nowhere near as interesting as the fact that it is a disposable implement which a diver can drop after firing all 4 of its rockets piecemeal or in one large salvo. Not requiring a backpack, troopers can keep their jump pack or else another support item and still have a comparable firepower enough to substantially damage heavy enemies, though still, like many other weapon systems in the field, unfortunately not possessing quite as much firepower to inflict any meaningful damage upon Leviathan gunships. These itemized weapon systems, while indeed doing much to combat the declining efficacy of orbital and airborne stratagems in the cities of Earth are only so effective, and none as much as the massive force multiplier that has admittedly been the presence of SEAF infantry units on planet. While nowhere near as trained or armed as even a below average Helldiver, their patrolling the streets and squad elements has greatly aided in clearing voteless concentrations and even personally throwing hands with overseer elites with mixed results. Of course, anybody who's been down there and fought at this point knows that this all comes with a giant asterisk that they are, by all accounts, and according to every diver who's crossed their path, almost unilaterally incompetent in every aspect of war. Whether it's utterly failing to maintain awareness of the muzzle direction and firing arcs of adjacent friendly units, failing to maintain awareness of their own muzzle direction and consequently fragging divers, or perhaps most problematic, being given to evidently just pulling the pin out of their fucking high-X grenade only to then pocket it as a souvenir rather than, I don't know, throwing it before it has the chance to ruin somebody's day. Regardless, it is this report's conclusion that they managed to eke out a result that is more good than harm done in most theaters, and while most divers are probably better off avoiding direct contact with them during a firefight situation, at the end of the day, you salute, they salute, and we all bleed red. And bled we have. On the brutal streets, in the confines of the alleyways, or the spacious parks, on the playgrounds, and at the foot of vital infrastructure, members of the 317th have bid everything in service to the single most important objective of their lifetime, that being the killing of godless aliens in defense of the home of all of humankind. Where bombings falter, firefights break out, and failing that, many divers have even taken to challenging the overseers to now almost ritual one-on-one duels in determination of who can swing the most weight around and come out on top of the galactic food chain. Side objectives within wider mission goals are established and completed, vital resources are identified and aggregated and salvaged, and critical defense systems built for a day just like this are now being utilized to terminate some of the largest threats to democracy ever witnessed in the skies above Earth. And as of the finalization of this report, with the combined efforts of divers and SEAF ground forces alike, the estimated 2.5 billion Illuminate kills necessary to give pause to the invading fleet and buy precious breathing room for the Federation Command to effectively coordinate counteraction have been successfully obtained in what will undoubtedly be recorded in surviving accounts as a veritable drop site massacre for the alien threat. The significant blow to the enemy's surface and airborne detachments has caused what intelligence analysts within the Office of Naval Intelligence estimates to be a staggering 10% hit to remaining Illuminate fleet strength, in addition to their losses from sheer attrition alone. In this dark hour, innumerable tales of heroic patriotism have arisen. SEAF soldiers fighting side by side with Helldivers report decisive leadership, impeccable marksmanship, and unhesitating acts of self-sacrifice. But in spite of this monumental effort and the heroism of the Helldivers, no longer do all 7 of our great megacities stand. Eagleopolis has fallen. The Great Mall of Super Earth has been reduced to rubble, and Congressional Rapids Family Fun Zone is no more. And as it stands, the battle for Super Earth is far from over.
That's like the taste of freedom.
Yeah, but back to what I was saying. Yeah, I don't care if the president died. I'm just glad Credit Kelly made it.